This is a podcast or something like that. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the VJP ODCAST. What's up? And we are here live recording the 49th episode of the Verbal Journal podcast. 49th. Wow, the time has come for us to rein it in, okay? It's been 48 episodes now. Time to get a little disciplined. It's Discipline Sunday. I woke up, I did dishes. It's Discipline Sunday. I did dishes, and then what was the order of operations there? I did dishes. Is that all I've gotten done this month? There was something else I got done. It was a lot of dishes. Well, there was like cleaning. I cooked as I was doing dishes. I cooked. I like to do that because I don't feel like hanging out in the kitchen very much. So if I do have like half an hour's worth of dishes, I like to do what I did today, which is cook pasta at the same time. So now I have pasta cooked that I can mix with some other dishes. And, it's good to get that done. Today I have a nice, wonderful Sunday on the agenda. It's been a very laid-back weekend. I've just been chilling on my own mostly. I haven't really hung with friends much last couple days. I've just been doing my own thing, and I've been painting a lot as I do, and some writing a little bit. That's been good. I was watching a little bit of football. I enjoy watching football. I was watching a little tennis. I was listening to some podcasts, the improv compilation from the Not Even a Show podcast compilation I made actually of their improv from that podcast, which I recently put out for other fans of the podcast. Of the NEAS podcast. But, the big news is I didn't record last week, and you may be thinking, well, that's because I did the public episode the week before, and I was just so, I was so exhausted. I needed time to let all the new VJP heads, make it over to the channel, so you might be thinking, okay, I was just wiped out after the public episode. It's actually not that simple. I wasn't. That's actually not true. Basically, I had a perfect amount of energy. I was fully rejuvenated and restored. But I actually was out of town. I was traveling a little bit. I went to Philadelphia. If you've ever heard of Philadelphia, this is in the United States, sort of on the eastern hemisphere of the United States. There's a little town called Philadelphia. This is where the country, it's where they signed something. They signed a document. I think this is where the founding fathers signed. It was some sort of agreement about something to do with the dependence. I think it was something about like, oh yeah. They were like, oh, we're codependent with England. It's really problematic. Like we're gonna fix that. From this point on, we're not gonna ask them for anything. We're gonna just be totally independent. We're gonna do everything on our own. We're not gonna ask them for anything unless we really need it. So I just, I really respect that. So I wanted to go kind of investigate, just see what was going on there. And on a more legitimate note, Philadelphia has a huge art museum. So you may, if you've listened to this podcast, you may know I've been recently talking about artists and reading their biographies. Not too long ago, I finished a biography of Marcel Duchamp. And Marcel Duchamp he's sort of like he's got a special place at the Philadelphia Art Museum. So I was like, okay, I'll check out the Philadelphia Art Museum, and boy was it fun. It was very exciting. There was a lot going on. There were sort of a lot of people there. At the same time, there were some times where I was like alone in a room. Because I'd be hanging in the weird rooms, the Duchamp room, the Surrealist room. And it was, really, it was so much fun. I had such a good time. It was really inspiring, and I just saw so much art that was really meaningful to me. I'm reading the Man Ray biography now, and they had this huge Man Ray painting that was literally from the chapter I was about to get to. I was in like 1940 or something, or like 1938, and he painted this in like 38, 39, or 37. I was like 1 year away from, in the biography, from reading about the painting that I immediately saw. So it was really cool to see a huge painting. That was Fair Weather, the name of the painting. And it was very cool to see in person, at the same sort of point in the book. Why is this so hard to explain? It was so cool to see a painting in person that I am like just about to read about him making. That I was just about to read about him making. Wow, that really was not supposed to, because I'm talking about a time in the past when I experienced something that aligned with something that was in the past and sort of just in the near future at that past time, but is still in the past now. This is an unlistenable podcast. This really is a verbal journal. It's like, this would not fly on a regular podcast. Neither would taking coffee sips for extended periods of time. Yeah, it would. It would. I'm not that different. Okay. So I had a great time at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I also, I went to a few other spots in Philadelphia, saw some great art. I just got some of the local food, drinks. I just went on my own, honestly. I didn't even go with anyone else. It'd be nice to go with someone else, but hey, if you don't have someone, free and available, make the trip yourself if you can. I don't work crazy hard, but I work, and I save money and I do my best to be responsible, honestly, so it's nice to spend some of that money. Get out there, see things, get inspired. So I mentioned doing a little writing. I did some writing at the art museum and some writing about art. I don't think any of it's going to make it onto the channel. I actually did some, when I got back, I did some verbal, it was almost like the verbal journal. I was actually almost like, oh, should I cut this and include this in the verbal journal? But I was like, no, I'll just make it a separate thing. But I was just sort of talking out loud about my experiences, and then I'm going to type that up, try to see if I can capture the very verbal way of talking in writing. But things are good in my personal life. I've been working, seeing some clients. I see 10, 15 clients a week. This past week, it's definitely been slower, 10, on the 10 side. And it's great. I really enjoy it. It's been nice to just, work enough to support myself, but have lots of free time. And I saw some friends this past week, hung out, made some art. That's pretty much all I do with my free time. And, okay, so we're back on the VJP. I have lots to talk about because it's been 2 weeks. I have tons to talk about, so it's going to be so worth it. So first up, what do we got here? What do we got here on the agenda? Oh, yeah, I posted that there was going to be no pod on Patreon and YouTube, and I said feel free to, for the YouTube members, and I said feel free to let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I will respond to them. But people are very respectful of my time, and they don't want to ask me any questions. So no questions on that in that regard. Public episode went well, huge response. One thing I wanted to mention about all this reading about biographies is, or I'm reading these biographies. One thing I really like about biographies is the way that they sort of implicitly emphasize accountability, and the way that a biography sort of communicates how every moment in our life matters. A biography will preserve moments. Jackson Pollock, flipping over a table, when he relapsed, or like, and having all his friends there, like, people would remember that, but I wouldn't get to hear about it, so like just bringing, not that I deserve to hear about that, but just like bringing a moment into the public awareness. So I'm reading this Man Ray biography, and it's like, everything, like your work, relationships, whether someone writes a biography about you or not is what I'm trying to say. Everything you do exists forever in the past. So everything that is the present will exist eternally as the past. And everything you do, like, obviously has consequences extensively, but also will forever have been done in the way it's done. And that memory will exist as well as the consequences of it. So, like Man Ray was kind of a dick a fair bit of the time. I mean, he wasn't necessarily Picasso level, but he seemed to not really know how to have a healthy, equal type of relationship, especially with women. So apparently, yeah, there's like famous other artists that he associated with that were like his model / assistant, and then went on to be a photographer themselves. Like Lee Miller is this famous person. And when they were dating for a few years, apparently, like when she started, like, was going to leave him, he threatened to hurt her or kill her. And like, was he serious? And who, like, is that something we're supposed to be wondering? Like, whether he was serious? Like he doesn't seem to have actually tried to kill her, but he literally would threaten that. And so it's like, how the, like that's forever. He did that. And I don't, I wasn't there. I don't know that there was a quote in the book I read, but it said explicitly that he wanted it to be known that he owned a gun, and he would tell people that, like, if she left him, he had a gun. And like, that's unconscionable. And she did leave him, and he didn't kill her. So I guess brownie points for that. Like, good job, Man Ray. Like, but like, that's who he was. And then also, like, just the general trends of things. Like, he portrays women in these like submissive sort of poses in so much of his photography and his art, and apparently his drawings that he did with Paul Eluard. And so like, I mean, it's kind of amazing the way that a biography really crystallizes this human fact that like everything you do persists forever as an action you have done. And accountability is built into the arrow of time, I guess, or like the accountability is built into accountability is inevitable regardless of the arrow of time. It'll always be the place where the arrow had been. I don't know what but that's, Man Ray, not a great guy. When I finish this biography, I already have my next biography, and it's about an even fucking worse person, like a horrible. Like, okay, hold on, let me rephrase that. I actually said that. I literally said that wrong. I didn't. That's not what I meant to say. Not an even worse person, because Man Ray wasn't even close to the worst person or worst artist. The next biography I have is about probably one of the worst people who's ever made art and become famous for it. I believe he literally was an abuser and a pedophile, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm basically 100% sure. His name's Balthus. He is disgusting, and his art is disgusting, and I don't recommend looking it up. The reason I wanted to read his biography is he's actually well respected by a lot of extremely lacking critical thinkers who have a lot of money in the art field. Like his paintings have been, I think they're shown at the Met, they're shown at like huge museums, and people protest them because they are literal artifacts of his crimes and his wrongdoings. And so I wanted to see whether a biography about him. He painted like little girls in seductive poses. He painted children in seductive poses. And then he literally had children pose for him in seductive poses. That's child abuse. And so, like, he documented his child abuse in his art, essentially, is my understanding. I'm very curious of whether this biography will actually. I'm really curious whether it will critique him or whether it'll be like a horrible biography. I'm very, very curious. So, anyways, might not make it through that one depending on how bad it is, but after that, I want to read about like Willem de Kooning. I want to read about Frida Kahlo. I want to read about some other artists. So yeah, lots more to come there. But yeah, reading a biography, it really does reading so many biographies makes me think a lot about, how everything I do exists forever. Not that I think people are going to write biographies about me, but it's not about that. It's like everything you do exists forever. Like Cy Twombly. Like, had some friend named Betty something that, like, he was close with for years. And apparently when she got engaged to someone, he was all sad and said he thought they were going to get married. And, like, they were still friends for many years. And then he just completely stopped communicating with her. And she was horribly hurt. And the biographer that I read his book, he met with her and she was just like hurt and lost. Like, why did this famous artist friend that I had that gave my life so much like added meaning, why did he just stop talking to me? And like that's a verdict on who he was. Like that's a really negative thing about who he was. So I just think it's really powerful how biographies bring to mind the importance of every moment and the fact that every moment does exist perpetually in the past. Okay, next point. What is this? A link to Twitter. Oh, yeah. Someone tagged me because they responded to... So Thomas Schnauz, writer-director from Better Call Saul, he posted, "We did it," when Better Call Saul set the record for most Emmy losses ever. It received 53 Emmy nominations during its run and never won a single one. I would not have it any other way. So Thomas Schnauz didn't tag me, but someone responded to him saying, "Y'all made some of the most affecting television ever. I highly recommend to those interested What's Therapy's videos on the show. It heightened my enjoyment on rewatch, and I generally just love the analysis." Thank you so much. That was so cool to see someone recommend my stuff to Thomas Schnauz, or to people in Thomas Schnauz's replies. So that was very cool. Schnauz? 53 nominations and 0 wins. Like, statistically, that's very unlikely. I mean, right? Like, some of these are for, like, small things, right? Like, they're not for, like, Best Actor, all of them. Like, some of them are for, like, small things that it's actually just very strange to not win one of them, just on a mathematical level. Let alone that it's clearly one of the best shows that's ever existed. I didn't watch the Emmys. I don't know what did win. Apparently Succession won or something. I don't watch other shows very much, so I'm not going to even like say, oh, it's... But obviously Better Call Saul is like the best show. And it's so funny to not win. That's how it should be. I'd much prefer that, and for it to be famous for that, than like, oh, it happens to win 1 or 2. Like, it's much funnier that it did not win any Emmys. And I don't know, y'all. I mean, I'm sure some of these actors would like an Emmy and stuff, but like, yeah, especially the smaller, like lesser known people, it would have been nice for them to get an Emmy. But I mean, what can you do? I've never been a fan of these awards shows. I don't think they value the right things. I mean, but yeah, 53 Emmy nominations and never winning a single one is so perfect. It feels like it makes me feel cooler to be a fan of the show in that circumstance. So, cool. Good stuff there. Next up, I watched a video about cults. It's interesting. It made me, there was just a point in the video where the cult leader was having a lot of medical issues and the cult members wouldn't let the cult leader go to a hospital. Usually the cult leader didn't want to, but then once in a while they'd be so sick they'd be like, all right, bring me to a hospital. And their cult members would be like, no, we know you don't mean that. We're not gonna. There's low energies at the hospital. There's backwards energies, and the the energies are bad. So, and I shouldn't, make light of this, but it really made me think that moment. It was a video about the cult Love Has Won. It was by a YouTuber. Honestly, I'm not even going to recommend the video because it kind of had some problems with it, in my opinion. It was a little bit unserious. I guess that's what happens when you make a lot of videos about messed up stuff, but it was a little bit like, I don't know. Well, she also dealt with it with real seriousness that I wouldn't have even thought to put at a few points. So I shouldn't say that. It was a kind of a net good video. But this one moment of the cult members not letting the cult leader go to the hospital was really interesting to me, because it showed, like, we're talking about a cult with adults, right? So it's all, as far as I understand, maybe there were children involved. I don't take my word for it, but my understanding is it's an adult cult leader with adults who join. They're young adults who join, but they're adults, I think. But it's just it's what I'm trying to get at is like the cult leader. Oh, hold on. I'm getting a phone call. Remind me where I was at. It's funny, long-time listeners of the podcast will be like, oh, fuck, his ringtone changed. So the thing with the cult is, like, the cult leader obviously had mental illness of some kind. It's like you don't have to diagnose someone to be like, there's clearly limitations here that are outside of, like, what we consider mental health. And so the cult leader is clearly struggling, definitely some substance abuse stuff, but also like genuine delusions and genuine delusions and potentially hallucinations as well as being very, very sick towards the end. But like serious mental illness. There's no way to get around it. But then it's like, well, that's the leader. That's the leader who has mental illness. Also, the followers, like some of them are obviously very vulnerable, at least vulnerable through maybe extensive trauma, or, some of them probably have psychosis and mental illness as well, with some of the beliefs that this cult has. They literally were waiting for a UFO to pick them up and save them. Like, the line between a bizarre belief and a delusion, it can be very, very thin. And so, like, it's sort of just a fascinating thing to me, like, adults with mental illness exploiting other adults with mental illness and then being exploited in return by those adults with mental illness. Like, so I guess it's just, there's something about like the fact that the cult leader themselves was being controlled and abused by the followers at that vulnerable point, to me just said something really deep about like, I guess what it says to me is like the followers in the cult. What does it say to me? It's like they, not just that they want power in that way, but like they become so attached to the delusion that's fed to them by someone with mental illness and attaches to their own mental illness. They're so attached to it that then they can't. What am I trying to say? It's like the fact that people want to be led, but then even when they're led, but then they can't be unled in a situation like that. I don't know. I'm trying to get at something, but it's like just something, it is hard for me to put words on, but like something struck me as so deep about the fact that the followers were now having control over the cult leader's life. It was, I don't know. I honestly might just have to come back to it. There's something that's just so deep to me about that. Like, that it's, I guess it's like this mutual abuse. There's something about this mutual abuse. I don't, like, I don't, it's very bizarre and sort of off-putting. I don't know. It's just, people want to have their freedom taken away in certain circumstances, but then when they want to, or like the cult leader is taking away other people's freedoms, and then wanting it so that their own freedom is still a possibility, and it is for most of the time in the cult, and they get to have their own freedom but take away other people's freedoms, but it's like an inherent trap that's going to come to a head, especially when it's adults and adults. I don't know, and I don't know if this is interesting to listen to. I found it really, something about that moment really stuck with me, and I wanted to kind of explore it on the pod. Another thing I've enjoyed since we last spoke. So I mentioned watching the film Poor Things, and I talked about that. And then I actually found a YouTuber. This person's name, I would definitely recommend the channel. Taylor J. Williams. Oh, he's got 100,000 subscribers, so some of you might know him. But he's quite good, and he does a lot of videos about media, and I think if you like my channel, you'd like him. He has a video called Yorgos Lanthimos is Not a Surrealist, and Yorgos Lanthimos is the director of Poor Things, as well as The Lobster, and other things, but I've only seen Poor Things and The Lobster. And the idea is very cool. I mean, I talk so much about surrealist art. It's like my favorite type of art. So the fact that someone made a video about how the one movie I've seen in the last few months is not surrealist is very interesting to me. And the argument was sort of like, because Yorgos has... It was just, it's not just about the title, but the video was exploring the way that Yorgos Lanthimos has changed in his career and embraced more or less surrealist ideas. And the video sort of used Andre Breton, his sort of definition of surrealism, based a lot on automatism and irrationality. I don't know. It brought up questions for me, like what does it mean to be surrealist? And I've been sort of exploring that on my own. You go to these museums, you see, Giorgio de Chirico, or however you say it, Eva Tanguy, Joan Miro, Max Ernst, Man Ray, Salvador Dali, Frida Kahlo. Like these paintings look completely fucking different. Like you can find some commonalities between some of them, but they're like the differences between de Chirico and Miro, or Ernst and Miro, or Dali and de Chirico, like there's just huge differences in technique, subject matter, approach, overall thoughts about art. And so it is just very interesting to me. What does surrealism mean exactly? It obviously means different from the real. And so I've just been sort of exploring, like, well, what does that difference from the real mean? And this video is a cool sort of look into that. I don't know how much I care about automatism, which is this important aspect of original surrealism, the idea that you're doing things without thinking about them. You're doing them to let the unconscious through. I guess I wonder, so like with surrealism, there's such an emphasis on the unconscious. I wonder how necessary that emphasis is. Like, why is the subconscious and the unconscious... Why is that the defining aspect of surrealism? So, if you're on a plane, and is that a surreal experience already? Because you're just on a plane. What if you're on a plane and it almost crashes? That's a surreal experience, right? It has nothing to do with the unconscious. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to think about. We still recording? Okay, next up, which... Oh yeah, so they remade Mean Girls. Apparently. There's a new season of On Cinema at the Cinema, which is how I learned that they remade Mean Girls. I think this is my first season watching On Cinema like live as it comes out, which is really fun to see, like new episodes as they come out. Such a fun show. It's so funny. It's funny when there's literally nothing going on. Like just the introduction, just the style, the aesthetics of it is so deeply funny. That they don't have to make a joke. They literally don't have to make a joke because the whole situation is funny. But yeah, they remade Mean Girls. What the fuck? Like, what? Literally, what the fuck? Like, how do you remake Mean Girls? It's from like 15 years ago. Like, what, 20 years ago? How old am I? I guess it's from like 20 years ago, okay? But like, You don't like. Why would you remake it? Like it was already a modern film. Like I don't know. I'm not gonna see the remake. But anyways, they remade Mean Girls. Next up, are we getting into sports news? Kevin Durant says no ill will with Draymond comments. Oh yeah, I didn't even read these yet. So what did Kevin Durant say about Draymond Green? Oh yeah, he said he hopes Draymond Green gets the help he needs following what has been incident after incident. Green said he was initially really pissed when he saw what Durant said. Yeah, I bet he was. Bet he was quite angry because he clearly has anger issues. But he said once Green was able to view Durant's comments through a different lens and not take the word help so negatively, it helped him grow and take a step forward. Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I can make fun. At the end of the day, it's very sad that someone like Draymond Green is an adult and needs the help he needs. There are a lot of men and adults Draymond Green's age who needs significant anger management, and he has the chance to do really positive things if he actually changes his behavior and grows as a person. But yeah, his behavior has been completely unacceptable. Durant said, "You've got to look at it from my perspective. Like before I had made those comments, people were saying Draymond's going to therapy and shit. Like what am I supposed to think? They say somebody's going to therapy. I'm hoping he gets better from that and hope he learned from whatever he feels like he needs to learn from going to therapy. I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he can move past that. Draymond is an incredible teammate. He got his times where he loses his temper, but everyone has those times, and I'm sure they all are happy to have him back, but I didn't mean no ill will by what I said. I know some people look at me as this malicious snake, passive aggressive. I know how people feel about me sometimes. So when I say shit, wow, Kevin Durant's so fucking dope. Like that self-awareness, you're not going to hear that like from a lot of athletes or famous people, like talking about how they know how they're seen in such a specific way. He says he doesn't mean any harm. I mean to disrespect him or his family. I'm just glad he's back on the court. Yeah, I mean, and then on the night when NBA handed down the suspension, Durant was asked about his thoughts on Green, and he said, yeah, that was insane to see. Glad Nurk is all right, because Draymond Green like hurt Yusuf Nurkic significantly. Never seen that in a basketball court in an NBA game. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, is it insulting to say I hope someone gets the help they need? Yeah, not when they've been violent repeatedly, no. But Draymond Green is back, and he aims to cut his antics. He says, I've cost my team enough. I've cost this organization enough. Yeah, how about your family, dude? God damn, man. Anyways, one other cool thing in my life that you might be interested in is I actually started watching a new show, and I even took some notes on it. It's not the craziest thought that this could eventually be something I want to make a video about. It's the show Shrinking. It's about a therapist. It's with Jason Segel. It's really funny and good, honestly. I liked it. So I may keep watching it, and who knows? So, yeah, but I thought it was good, and I took notes on it. Okay. So who knows what that means? Here's a tweet from Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. He says, a higher court in Canada has ruled that the Ontario College of Psychologists indeed has the right to sentence me to re-education camp. There are no other legal avenues open to me now. It's capitulate to the petty bureaucrats and the addle-pated woke mob. I do not know what addle-pated means. Addle-pated. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, I have a pretty good vocabulary. I've sort of come to this belief that like if you're speaking in a public forum for common people and you're using words that I don't know, you're using strange words. And that's a very selfish perspective, but I have a pretty good vocabulary. Anyway, so he says it's capitulate to the petty bureaucrats and the addle-pated woke mob or lose my professional license. Congratulations, CP Ontario. You've won this round. Mark my words, however, the war has barely started. There's nothing. So he's obviously not the most trustworthy person. I mean, so you can't really take his words literally here. He rose to prominence by blatantly lying about legislation in Canada so badly he had to be corrected by the Bar Association in Canada, and he's never actually admitted that he was wrong. So you don't want to believe this guy about anything. But yeah, apparently what he's saying is probably true. Like, so the Canadian Board of Psychology. So there's obviously a board for every profession in every state. There has to be a board to regulate it. So if you go to a psychologist and they're terrible, you can report them to the board and they can suffer consequences. Here, he's not encountering any consequences for things he's done as a therapist because he hasn't been a therapist for years, and he already did get called out for some things he did as a therapist, like get too caught up in his fame and send emails and check his internet stuff in the middle of appointments. But now what he's been, held accountable for is actually his public statement. So if you think about it, someone who represents themselves as a famous psychologist has a responsibility. It doesn't have to be famous. When you belong to a profession, your public statements do reflect on that profession. That's extremely obvious. So if you think it's re-education, for a licensing board to want professionals with that license to behave with certain standards and the public, then you're mistaken and probably don't have a profession. But hey, Jordan Peterson, playing the victim as he does, as he likes to do, as he's done his whole career. So cool. Yeah, boards have power, and that's good. And okay. What else? Chess news, big chess tournaments going on. Tata Steel Masters going on. And actually a big game today. It looks like Ding Liren, the world champion, probably lost his game to Alireza Firouzja. I tuned into the game right at a critical point where Ding made a blunder that did require, an intelligent response. And it was a knight e4. Firouzja found it. It was this trick where Ding sort of he kind of hung his queen, not really, but Alireza found a way to set up an attack where Alireza would be taking a piece, a knight with check. So it's a queen trade is offered, but Alireza has this momentum move where he can take with check. So Ding takes Alireza's queen, but Alireza doesn't even take the queen back. First he takes the piece with check and then takes the queen back, and suddenly he's up a piece. So good way, very cool game, very cool win. In personal chess news, I won 8 games in a row and then a draw on Bullet to get to almost my highest ever rating in Bullet, which is 1 minute games. I got to 1756, close to my highest ever. And then I set my personal best the next day with a great checkmate. I set my personal best, so I'm just doing really good with these 1 minute games, but I sort of stopped playing the 1 minute games because I like taking chess a bit more seriously. And, so I've been playing more games where I get time to think, but it was very cool to break my record in these 1 minute games, especially with a checkmate on the board. Usually you don't get checkmate on the board. I got checkmate on the board. Usually people resign. I was talking about shogi. One of the last things we'll talk about today, I was talking about shogi. The fact that Japan doesn't apparently have any grandmasters. I believe I looked that up. If they do, they have very few, but I don't think they have any grandmasters. They have lots of great chess players, just no one at that highest of level. And I was talking about how shogi, probably it's the national game in Japan. It's extremely big there, and it's similar to chess. So it's why would people play chess? They'll just play the game that's popular in their country. But then I saw a post on Reddit also. It says, learning to play shogi completely turned me away from chess. And this person says, so it's sort of confirming what I said. This person says, since 2012, I was a chess fanatic, and over the years, I played thousands of games. Peak rating was 2,000 on Lichess. Very good. So I decided to expand my horizon, get familiar with chess variants, and this is what they like about shogi. If you lose the queen, it's basically game over for you because she's so overpowered. But in shogi, in chess. In shogi, the pieces are much more balanced and complement themselves more elegantly. It never feels pointless to keep on going after you've blundered a piece, as it oftentimes is in chess. That's interesting. The number of pieces on the board stays throughout a game always the same, as pieces captured by your opponent can be employed again by them, just like in Crazy House. That's a really cool idea. This means the action never decreases and opens up a whole new level of tactical maneuvers and insane piece X, basically until the very last move. In my last game, I sacrificed my rook to get my opponent's silver general, which led to a beautiful combination to mate his king. Okay. Wish I was there. Just like the aesthetics more. Power ceiling in shogi is absurdly high. If you, for example, watch Caruana or Fiddler playing their games, you acknowledge that these are elite masters, but you still get what's going on over the board. Not in shogi. Here, I feel like that sort of contradicts an earlier point. Not really. Here, the games of professionals don't even seem to be the same game anymore because shogi is that, well, Okay. This is fine. And then this person says, "Hi, Shogi player for Team USA here. Shogi does have an endgame. It's just not remotely translatable to what a chess endgame is. And at a beginner level, Shogi is in fact 100% tactics since players don't understand most fundamentals well enough, but the same is true for chess if we're to..." Okay. Cool. Yeah, whatever. That's interesting. I don't know anything about Shogi. That's interesting. Okay, and the screen time report. So the screen time report, I like to check out my screen time report. Screen time report. Hi, welcome to screentimерeport.gov. The source for all your screen time report needs. So how I've been using my phone so much because I've been painting and playing a video on my phone just for the audio while I watch like football on my TV on silent. So there's actually, if I can find it, there's actually going to be so many hours of screen time this past week. Let's find it. Oh, crazy. What is this? Oh no, I can't find the week. Yeah, here it is. Oh, yeah. 2.5 hours daily average screen time in the last few weeks, including 5 hours yesterday because I just had videos playing on my phone. I wasn't watching them. I'm not watching my phone for 5 hours, but I literally had so much just stuff playing on my phone. I've just been watching like political videos or different. I like rewatching like videos by Sean or H-Bomb and stuff. I just find them very funny and relaxing. Okay, and last section of the pod. The mailbag. Let's see if anyone wrote into the Verbal Journal mailbag. That's verbaljournalmailbag@gmail.gov. No, I'm sorry, it's not. verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Oh, I wrote into myself a bunch to remember to mention things. I forgot. Okay, hold on. This is someone... Oh, yeah, someone commented on a YouTube short about... fucking... What's his name? Rob... What's that famous producer? Rob... It's that famous music producer. Rob Ross? Rob Ross? Bob Ross? Wait, what's his name? Rob Ross. No, Rick Ross. Oh, fuck. Rick Rubin. It's Rick Rubin. Okay. Okay. So on this video of Rick Rubin, apparently Rick Rubin styles himself as like this creativity guru. So, but this person commented on this YouTube short of Rick Rubin talking about creativity, and they said, and they're talking about Bob Rauschenberg. That's Robert Rauschenberg, the first artist biography I read. I was Bob Rauschenberg's fabricator for 26 years. This is fucking insane. Bob said his greatest teacher was Joseph Albers, who I read about, taught from the Bauhaus and Black Mountain College in North Carolina. Joseph Albers had a very interesting approach to art, very focused on materials, the science of it. Very much not about self-expression, just about exploring materials. Anyways, this commenter says, Bob Rauschenberg learned the rules early from a master, and then he broke all the rules, became famous as a rule breaker. Bob, all through the years, wanted me to write a book about how he did it all. People who never knew Bob took over and gave a 2-week notice. It's been 15 years since Bob died, still working on the book. Wow. That was just really powerful to see in a YouTube comment. Like, there's so much experience there. There's so much in that comment. Wow. And then I sent myself a link to a weird video. Yeah, what was the deal with this? The Young Turks have a weird thing going on their YouTube channel, y'all. Like, I don't watch the Young Turks, but I got like suggested a video with 0 views by them. And I just went to it now. It's 10 days old. It has 20 views. They have 5 million subscribers. I commented, what the fuck? A video from 23 hours ago by a channel with 5 million subs and no views? And then someone responded the same day, just me and you, brother. If you look at the Young Turks YouTube channel, it's super fucking weird. They post like constantly. And some of their videos get tens of thousands of views. Some get hundreds of thousands of views. And then they just post so much. Wait, there hasn't been one in the last few days that gets no views. There hasn't been any in the last few days that get no views. But I swear this is a real video that they posted. So look, if we go back 9... This video is called Kanye or Nay. If we go back... But it's not even on their listed channel then. When you go to their channel, I don't see it. Oh, wait, 10 days ago? Wait, maybe it's right here, around here somewhere. They just have, like, some videos with so few views. Wait, Kanye... I don't even see the video on their channel. Is it unlisted? Hosted on Acast. So this is definitely posted, like, automatically by them. Like, it's somehow... But it's not unlisted. And it was posted 11 days ago, and it has 20 views. And I don't see it listed on their YouTube channel with other videos posted 11 days ago. It's literally not there. So I don't really understand. And then, yeah, they have other videos on their channel with 40 views from 10. Wait, and their videos on their channel aren't listed chronologically. Is this a YouTube thing? Because I specifically am going by chronologically, and they're not listed chronologically. They're clearly out of order. 10 days, 2 weeks, 10 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. Like, what is going on the Young Turks YouTube channel? I don't understand. I fucking won a game in my fantasy basketball league. That was one of the last things I wanted to talk about. I'm not even playing against people I know, so it's like totally meaningless. But I went up against someone who's 10-0 in their matchups. They have not lost a matchup the entire NBA season, and I beat them by like a few points. It was super close, and it was so awesome to win, even though it means absolutely nothing. AI painting sparks outrage. Maybe this is something we could talk about next time. Where even is it? I saved an article and I can't even find it. Okay, we're just gonna let that one go. Okay, well, hey, thanks. That was fun, right? All right, well, I'll see you next time. Let me know what you think. Write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. Hope you're having a great day, night, life, and goodbye.
This is a podcast or something like